हमारे मुख्य अतिथि श्री अमिताभ बच्चन जी से और गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर सुश्री शबाना जी से कि वो ब्रेड ब्यूटी रेवोल्यूशन का लोकार्पण करें। दूसरे मेहमान और मेजबान भी प्लीज उनका साथ दें। ब्रेड ब्यूटी रेवोल्यूशन फ्रेंड्स।
Credo of a non-writer, because it was discussed कि आखिर अब्बास साहब कौन थे, तो उन्हीं के लफ्ज़ों में सुन लेते हैं। The novelists say Khaja Ahmed Abbas is no novelist. He's only a short story writer. The filmmakers say Khaja Ahmed Abbas is no filmmaker. He's only a story writer. The journalists say Khaja Ahmed Abbas is not a journalist. He's merely a story writer. The short story writers say Khaja Ahmed Abbas is no literary story writer. He's merely a hack journalist, drawing the material for his stories from the columns of daily newspapers. I think we may sum up the situation as a consensus that I am a short story writer of sorts, maybe a non-writer. The critics have sometimes sneeringly labeled my short stories and even my novels, one of which, Inqilab, took me 7 years to write, as mere journalese. Obviously, the fact that some of them owe their inspiration to real-life incidents chronicled in the daily press is enough and sufficient to put my stories beyond the pale of literary creation. Maybe I'm a non-writer, an unredeemed journalist and columnist, masquerading as a writer of fiction. I have always believed that while the inner life of people undoubtedly is and should be the primary concern of creative fiction, this inner, personal, subjective life is being daily influenced, molded, and transformed by the external social forces. No man or woman is totally free from the impact of objective social reality. This interaction of the individual and the social forces operating around him is of particular interest to me, and it has inspired, provoked, or colored most of what I have written. So typically, Khaja Ahmed Abbas. I just Hindustani. And so, even if that is a passage he wanted to read, I've stolen it. So in the book, it talks about how Abbas Sahab was wanting to cast people against type for his film Saath Hindustani. One day someone brought a snapshot of a tall young man, and I thought that the boy was in Bombay. I said, let me see him in person. He will be here day after tomorrow evening. Again, presuming he was in Bombay, I thought he must be working somewhere and wouldn't be free till the evening. On the third day, punctually at 6 p.m., a tall young man arrived who looked taller because of the chudidar pajama and jawahar jacket that he was wearing. This young man would one day be known as Amitabh Bachchan, the heartthrob of millions. But I did not know his name. Roughly the following dialogue took place between us. Sit down, please. Your name? Amitabh, not Bachchan. It was an unusual name, so I asked, what does it mean? The sun. It's also one of the synonyms for Gautam Buddha. Education, BA from Delhi University. Have you worked in films before? No one has taken me so far. Who were they? He mentioned very prominent names. What did they find wrong with you? The boy spoke with frankness. They all said, I was too tall for the heroines. Well, we have no such trouble. In a way, we have no heroine in our film at all. Even if we had, that wouldn't prevent me from taking you. Taking me? Are you really going to take me? Without even a test? That depends. First, I must tell you the story. Then I must tell you your role and see if you will be enthusiastic about playing it. Then I shall tell you what we can afford to pay you. Only then, if you agree, shall we sign the contract. I read him out the complete story and saw his face become alive with interest. I asked him which role he would like to play. He told me the two which particularly impressed him, the role of the Punjabi and the role of the Muslim. I told him he was perhaps a Punjabi, and that made him unfit to play that role. He asked me why. I gave him the reason. The reason for having a scrambled cast. The idea appealed to him greatly. He said, I think I know what you mean. Then I would like to play the Muslim role, especially because he's under a cloud of suspicion. And only at the end, the suspicions are removed and he is proved a patriot. Then I told him we would pay him no more than 5,000 rupees, which was the standard figure for all the roles. He seemed a little hesitant, and I asked him, are you earning more than that? I was, he said. I asked him what he meant. He said that he was getting about 1,600 a month in a firm in Calcutta. I resigned the job and came over. I was astonished. You mean to say that you resigned a job of 1,600 rupees a month just on the chance of getting this role? Supposing we can't give the role to you? He said, one has to take chances, with such conviction that I said the role is yours. Then I called my secretary, Abdul Rahman, to dictate the contract. I asked the tall young man for his name and address. Amitabh, after some hesitation. Amitabh Bachchan, son of Dr. H.R. Bachchan. Stop, I said. This contract cannot be signed until I telegraph and get your father's consent. He's a colleague of mine on the Soviet Land Nehru Award Committee. I wouldn't like to have a misunderstanding with him. I'm afraid you will have to wait for 2 more days. You can ask my dad, but frankly, do I look like a runaway? I told him that runaways don't have any particular look. So I dictated, instead of the agreement, a telegram to Dr. Bachchan in New Delhi and asked him if he was willing to let his son become an actor. 2 days later, a telegram came reading, no objection where you are concerned. This is the whole story about how Amitabh Bachchan came into films. That was, of course, after Saeeda Appa had already discovered him.